One day, a beggar stopped a businessman on the street and asked for money. The businessman looked at him and said, "You always keep asking from people, but do you ever give anything to anyone?" The beggar was surprised. "Sir, how can I give anything? I'm a beggar. I don't have anything to give." The businessman smiled faintly and replied, "Then you have no right to ask either. Life is about give and take. Nothing in this world is free. If you can't give anything, you shouldn't expect anything." And with that, he walked away. Those words stayed in the beggar's heart. The next morning, he noticed some wildflowers growing by the roadside. A thought struck him. He began to pluck the flowers and offer them to people who gave him money. Soon, people started smiling when they received a flower. They began giving him more money than before. Days later, the same businessman passed by again. The beggar handed him a flower, and the businessman gave him a little money in return. The businessman smiled and said, "Now you are not a beggar anymore. You are a small entrepreneur. You are giving value before you receive." The beggar's eyes lit up. Amazed by this thought about himself, he shouted aloud, "I am an entrepreneur." From that day, he was never seen begging on the streets again. A year later, at a grand city event, the businessman met a well-dressed gentleman in a fine suit. The man walked up to him and said, "Do you remember me?" The businessman hesitated. "I don't think so." The man smiled and said, "I was the beggar who once gave you flowers. You changed my life in 2 lessons. The first day you taught me the rule of life, that I must give something before I can receive. The second day, you called me an entrepreneur and made me realize that people weren't giving me money out of pity. They were paying for the value of the flowers I offered. Until then, I saw myself as a beggar, and I would have stayed one. But that single word changed how I saw myself. I started believing in what I was doing. People in the city love flowers, so I bought more, started selling them, and today I'm a successful florist." The businessman nodded and said, "This is the truth of life. For the world to see your value, you must first raise your worth in your own eyes." Moral: when you start believing in your worth and give value to the world, life begins to give back multiplied.